You're listening to the very long story of Tetris. This is not a dramatic story. It is simply a slow and calm explanation of how one of the most famous games in history came to be. Tetris is a puzzle video game, first created in the year 1984 in the Soviet Union. It was designed and programmed by a computer scientist named Alexei Pajitnov. The name Tetris comes from the Greek word tetra, meaning four, because all of the shapes in the game are made of 4 blocks. It is worth noting that Pajitnov also liked the sport of tennis and combined tetra with tennis to form Tetris. In other words, the game was both mathematical and playful from the very beginning. Alexei Pajitnov was working at the Dorodnitsin Computing Center of the Academy of Sciences in Moscow. His job was related to artificial intelligence and computer graphics. However, in his free time, he enjoyed making simple games to test computer systems. In 1984, he experimented with a puzzle based on polyominoes. Polyominoes are geometric shapes made of equal-sized squares joined edge to edge. One of the simplest types of polyominoes is the tetramino, a shape made of 4 squares. Pajitnov realized that tetraminos could fall into place and could fit together in many ways. This idea became the foundation of Tetris. The first version of Tetris was developed on an Electronica 60, a Soviet computer. This system did not have advanced graphics. As a result, the blocks in early Tetris were represented only by text characters on the screen. Despite this limitation, the game was immediately addictive to the people who tried it. It spread among colleagues and friends. Even though it had no sound and no color, the concept was clear and the fun was undeniable. From Moscow, the game moved slowly outside of the Soviet Union. In 1986, versions of Tetris appeared on the IBM PC. Soon after, it reached Hungary, where it was played on Apple II and Commodore 64 computers. It is worth noting that these were some of the most popular systems in Europe at the time. Eventually, the game was noticed by Western publishers. One of them was Robert Stein of Andromeda Software, who attempted to license the game. However, because the Soviet Union controlled software rights differently, this led to complex negotiations. The story of Tetris is famous for its legal disputes. Multiple companies, including Mirrorsoft, Spectrum Holobyte, Atari, and eventually Nintendo, all tried to secure the rights. This period is sometimes called the Tetris Wars. The Soviet agency LORG, short for Elektronorg Technica, officially handled the contracts. For several years, there was confusion about who had the rights to produce the game on consoles, computers, or handheld devices. In the late 1980s, Nintendo became involved. They wanted Tetris as a launch title for their new handheld system, the Game Boy. After intense negotiations, Nintendo secured the handheld rights. This decision proved to be very successful. Tetris became bundled with the Game Boy in 1989. It is worth noting that many consider this to be one of the greatest bundle deals in gaming history. In other words, Tetris helped sell the Game Boy, and the Game Boy helped spread Tetris. By the early 1990s, Tetris was played all over the world. It was available on home consoles, arcade machines, and personal computers. It became a cultural phenomenon. There were tournaments, competitions, and television commercials. In Japan, arcade versions became popular. In the United States and Europe, the Game Boy version remained iconic. It is estimated that by the mid-1990s, Tetris had sold millions of copies across different formats. Over time, Tetris has appeared on nearly every device that can play games. It has been released on calculators, phones, and even refrigerators with screens. Scientists have studied Tetris for its effects on the brain. Some people even report seeing falling blocks in their dreams, a phenomenon called the Tetris effect. In 2009, Tetris was inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame. By 2010, it had sold over 170 million copies across physical and digital formats. Today, it continues to be played by millions of people. And so, this was the very long and very calm story of Tetris. From a Soviet computer laboratory in 1984 to handheld systems to modern consoles, and to the minds of countless players around the world. Tetris is both simple and infinite. It is both mathematical and playful. And most of all, it is timeless. Now, as you continue to relax, you may let the story of Tetris fade away. Just as the blocks slowly fall into place, your thoughts can settle, one by one, until you are ready to drift into sleep.